There we go.
Does this look good?
Hello. Welcome. Hi, Alicia. I'm not sure you need third grade. And Amanda. But hi, guys. Happy Saturday. Hey. All right. I just have this up here because all of the information, oh, thanks, Amanda, can be found on my blog. So if you need to leave early or you didn't catch something, everything is on there. So, yay, Shelly is chocolate. All right, let's see how the lighting is here and put this in the tripod. All right. Hi, guys. Happy Saturday. Let's see if I can get this. Vicki, welcome. Oh, good. And those of you who have taught third grade or you have things to add, just feel free to do that. Let me try to get me away from the comments. Let's see if that helps. Oh, you're cleaning closets. You know what? Vicki's cleaning closets today. Oh, thank you. Yeah, everybody's got chocolate hearts, teal hearts. Very fun. Okay, never homeschooling. You taught third grade. I taught fifth grade, and then I taught middle school math. So it is very different when you're doing it at home. I'm sorry, I'm playing with the tripod. All right, let's see if I got it. Oh, good. Okay, well, we'll talk third grade for a little bit. Welcome. I'll start by introducing myself for those of you who don't know me. Yeah, I totally get it. It's so different teaching at home than in the classroom. It's hard to transition for mom. I'm Mary, and all of the information today is on my blog at notbefore7.com, and you can find it there. And I'm a homeschool mom of a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, 9-year-old, and 6-year-old. Though today we are going to focus on the 9-year-old who is in third grade and what that looks like. So I'll get to the seat work. Oh, I know. I'll get to the seat work in a minute. I do want to emphasize, because everyone kind of has a different philosophy and a different way they run their house. But just so you kind of know, the atmosphere in our house is pretty much an elementary school. So that would include third grade. There is a lot of free time, creative play time in the house. So there is a lot of Legos and Lincoln Logs and Minecraft and bike riding and skateboarding and kinetic sand and just a lot of free time to do what he would like. And for us as a family to do what we would like. But that being said, there's obviously some seat work time and some directed learning time in our house. I shouldn't say obviously, because every house does that a little differently. But in our house, we do have some directed learning time to kind of cover our bases, and we kind of let that ebb and flow with where we are and what our schedule is doing. So most people, when they want to know what third grade looks like, are asking about the school books. So I'm just going to go over that. I was a former math teacher. That being said, Tar Heel Mom, who is on here, my friend Jessica, she is amazing at thinking outside the box when it comes to math. So Jessica, if you put up a little heart, people can follow you, and maybe one day you'll get inspired to scope again and tell us more about math. But you can find her on Catch, I'm Thinking, where she's done some really good scopes about living math, which is awesome. I am a little bit more traditional by the book. So we have found that for elementary school, Singapore has been working for us. I, as a math teacher, am very comfortable with it. I don't need a whole lot in the teacher's guide. I love the way they approach numbers and thinking, and I love that it's short lessons. I'm not a big believer in, sure, I'll open the inside. This is what my son is actually going to do. I'm not a big believer in drill and kill, but one philosophy of Singapore is, thanks Jessica, is it's not a spiraling curriculum the way Saxon is. So when we're working on division, we're working on division. We're not constantly, doing worksheets of 30 problems that review everything we've done. So there's advantages and disadvantages to that. But this would be typical for one lesson. So we would kind of go over this, do these 8 problems and the 3 word problems and call it a day. Vicki, you know what? I've got something and it's off topic, so let me save it to the end of the scope. But my daughter is actually doing a curriculum, my 5th grader is doing a curriculum different than Singapore just this year. And there is a workbook, and if I don't get to it in the scope, I will email you, that is awesome for some fun stuff for math facts. So when we get to multiplication, you can see like one lesson, we're drawing in the charts, the facts and learning what it is. And he's actually learning the facts really easily. So he is not needing a multiplication chart or any sort of help. He's naturally pretty good with numbers, so math isn't really a struggle for us. If you're interested in alternative ideas to math, I did do a scope about my daughter who struggles with memorizing facts and how we've accommodated that. And when I talk about 5th grade next week, that's the daughter I'll be talking about. So yeah, any games you can come up with for math facts and applying them. So math for him is pretty basic. We're just working through the workbook. Let's see, what do I want to talk about next? I'm looking at my own blog for my notes. Let's talk about language arts. Language arts is reading, writing, spelling, and grammar. And I'll start with spelling because it's pretty straightforward. My 2 middle children are not natural spellers. So while we use sequential spelling with my oldest and then really didn't have to do any spelling, I then discovered all about spelling. This is actually can be an intensive spelling program where you have rule cards to memorize and you have all these magnet tiles to make the words with. We don't do any of that, but I do love the word lists in here. So for example, here's a recent lesson. This was a lesson on teaching Team NG. So we went through what that looks like. I am doing level 1 with him. So we just, because I found it this year or last year, he was still doing Explode the Code. And so when we started 3rd grade, we just started with level 1. My 5th grader started level 1 in 4th grade, and she got through level 1 and 2, and she's finishing up level 3 right now in 5th grade, and we'll go on to level 4. But after we kind of discuss the rule, we don't do all the magnet tiles. I sometimes write on the dry erase board, and we go over the sound of the NG. I will often then read the word list to him to see what he can spell. And if he's having trouble, we'll kind of stop and we'll just talk about the words. And then what I do is I have this little yellow Post-it note in here, and words that he misses, I just jot down. So I have a list of words that he's missed. They have little green cards that you can keep that have all the words on them. So if you're organized enough, you can use those green cards and you can sort them between mastered words and review words. But for me, it's just easier to have this little sticky note and I write them. And then I'll tell you how often I do it in a minute. I did see that question. And then they have little dictations. It's not sentences right now for him. It's little phrases. And we go over that. And I'll pay attention to words there. And sometimes after, he doesn't do all those phrases in a day. My middle 2 kids aren't big into the actual handwriting part. So he might do 5 or 6 of them, and then I might give him 1 or 2 words from his sticky note to kind of review. And I'm not big, I think I read this in Charlotte Mason, I don't like the kids writing them the wrong way. So as soon as I see him go to start writing a wrong letter, I'll stop him. And we'll sound it out together, and I'll tell him the right letter if I have to, because I want his brain to be writing it the correct way. So I don't like just sit there giving a pretest and don't get involved. As soon as I see him writing it the wrong way, we stop and we sound it out and we write it the right way so that he's not practicing the wrong way. So sometimes on the sticky note, if I say to him, okay, neck was a word that you had a hard time with. Let's see if we can spell neck today. What do you think it starts with? And he'll start writing it. And if he starts to write N-E-K, I'll stop him. And I'll say, all right, let's talk about that K sound at the end of the word when we have that short vowel and a 1-syllable word. And we'll kind of go over that. So yes, kinesthetic learners, I think is what you meant to write. Okay, so do I pick a time? Is he supposed to see what he knows first? Well, you know, it's different theories. And that's why I say, I think I learned from the Charlotte Mason. I just really don't have him ever, I can see what he knows. Because as he's writing it, when he's going to write it the wrong way, I mean, I know right away, oh, he doesn't know that one, and I'll stop him. And then I will actually write that word down. So that's the nice thing about being one-on-one. If I had a class of 30, I would have to give a pretest and collect it and see what they know. But I'm sitting there with him, so I immediately know, oh, he doesn't know that word, and I can write it down. So it's just a different theory. There's nothing necessarily wrong with the other way. It just works for me this way, and I kind of have bought into this theory. But there are lots of different ways to do spelling. How long does it take? It kind of depends on the day. I would say I like it to take no more than 10 minutes. So I try to keep it to 10 minutes. That's why we only do like 5 dictations, little things a day. Sometimes it only takes 5 or 6 minutes. But again, I don't do the full blown out lesson. And we do it every day that I get to it. That's how we do it. Wow. Let's just get rid of a few people there. So my goal is to do spelling at least 3 times a week. It'd be great to do it every day, but we just kind of ebb and flow with it. And he just has a little spelling notebook here, and you can see where he writes. Wow, they really are coming in as people are inviting followers. As much as it's great to invite followers, it's really hard. And I didn't check my list before I started scoping, so I hope it's not on my list. And here he is. My people aren't, my middle 2 pay no attention to writing on lines. So I'm just being honest about that. I got to sometimes say, you know, hey, David, do you notice that there are lines on the page and they kind of assume you will write on them? So, all right, that's kind of how we do it. He just keeps the list in the book. So that's spelling. You know, kind of straightforward. Oh, now the next thing we're going to talk about is copy work, which is part of our language arts program. And copy work also is a way to apply spelling and to help support spelling. So my kids, my younger 3, 5th grade, 3rd grade, and 1st grade, all read The Arrow. This is a Brave Writer guide for elementary school for 3rd through 6th grade. We did Understood Betsy. Convergency, insufficiency. Oh my gosh, Anna, I'm going to have to look that up. Convergency, insufficiency. So yes, Understood Betsy was awesome. And I've never heard of that either. The copywork passages were kind of long in this one. But what I do for my son, because he actually, I'm writing this down. I'm sorry. It's an eye problem. I'm sorry, I'm writing that down just to see. Interesting. Is that something like the eye doctor would test? That's really interesting. Okay, so this is how we do the copy work. I actually take the time for my 3rd grader to write it in his binder, and then I leave a blank line for him to copy it. It has been hard for him in 3rd grade. I didn't realize what a skill it was to look up at the board or look onto a different piece of paper and then copy from that. So it's much easier for him to have it right in front of him, and so that's fine. My 5th grader, I'm transitioning out of doing that for this year. So that's just how we do it. I write it in here. In fact, my 5th grader this year was like, can't you write it for me again? And I was like, I think you're doing okay. She needed a little encouragement to try it without me having to write it. But so that's how it works. So hi, Jenny. I just saw you pop on here. The Jenny that doesn't live in Raleigh. All right, so that is copy work and how it works. You know, we don't do copy work every day. We do it a few times a week. We take whatever the Arrow passage is, and these passages are typically too long for my 3rd grader to do in one day. They're too long for my 5th grader to do in one day, because these are my 2 kids who aren't into writing, the transcribing part of writing. So this usually takes us a good 3 days. We'll do a sentence or 2 a day, and then leave it alone. So I have other places I can pull copy work if I need to, but for my 3rd grader, if he happens to get that, if he happens to get the copy work done all in one day, then you know, that might be all he does. This is the arrow guide that comes from Brave Writer. Okay. Oh, good. It always helps me to know too that we're kind of on target here in this house. So you can get these from Brave Writer. I've been using the arrow guide. This is my 3rd year subscribing to the yearly subscription. She does 10 titles each year, and I found I love the books. We usually get to 8 or 9 of them, and then I kind of have one left over that the next year, if there's a book I don't want to do, I can pull from last year's, and or we can just read it in the summer and not do the copy work. I use a ton of stuff from Julie. I use the arrow, I use the boomerang, I have Jot It Down, I have Faltering Ownership, I have the Writer's Jungle. I'm a bit of a Brave Writer junkie. And then I just use a lot of the principles. So we do free writing and we do tea time and all of that kind of stuff. So this has worked really well for our copy work. And I should add, yeah, I love this stuff too. I should add that this is also, since we're talking about language arts, this is where we get a lot of our grammar. So with each copy work passage, there are grammar notes. And I'll typically try to read them ahead of time. I'm not really well scheduled. I like to go over the copy work passage on Monday or Tuesday. That's kind of the goal, somewhere in the early. And I actually have one on the board, so I was going to let you guys see. Yeah, the grammar is awesome in it. So I try, again, this isn't an ideal week. It doesn't always happen. But I try to write the whole passage up on the board. I couldn't fit all of the week we were on here. And then I use the guide to go over the passage with the kids on Monday or Tuesday. So they either will have already started copying it or they won't be copying it quite yet. Ask Daddy.
What?
Shut that door for me.
What?
He just had a question about one. Yeah, I'm not sure how we did school before either. So on the passage, sometimes in January, I was really trying to emphasize adjectives. So I would go over whatever Julie had in the guide for the grammar, and then we would also talk about all the nouns and adjectives. I typically now will say to my kids, grab a dry erase marker and go underline a capital letter in this passage that you can tell me why it's capitalized. And so even my 6-year-old has gotten into running up to the board with a dry erase marker and underlining a capital letter. He doesn't always know why it's capitalized, but they can pretty much now identify proper nouns. It's the beginning of a sentence, a beginning of a quote, that kind of stuff. So I use the copywork passages to teach grammar using both Julie's advice and opinions in it, as well as some of my own things I'm trying to emphasize. To support grammar, no, that's actually what I'm about to get to, Allison. To support grammar, I actually really like, we don't have a foreign language, Lena. Not yet. We've tried. You can ask me about all my foreign language failures. We use daily grams. The arrow is for technically 3rd to 5th grade, but because I have a 1st grader, he just comes alongside us. So it works. And then my 7th grader is in the next level, the boomerang. So this, I don't know if this is easy grammar. Who puts this out? It might be by the Easy Grammar people, and it's supposed to support their books, either Easy Grammar or Simply Grammar. But I have found that these are perfect to use by themselves. So this is an example of the 3rd grade. Obviously, we don't do this a lot. This is day 16. This is called Daily Grams. And I'll use it sometimes to just support things. I found he wasn't really too ready for it, so we haven't done a lot. See, it is April, and we're on day 16. Yeah, Lena, the Song School Latin is one of the ones that I failed on. It gives you, it always starts with a sentence to capitalize, then a sentence to punctuate, and then whatever part of speech it's going over with, and then it gives you 2 sentences to combine. And literally, it does the same thing in 7th grade. It's just different. It's sentence to capitalize, sentence to punctuate, some sort of part of speech, and sentences to combine, though they add in analogies. So this is just a nice way to support it. I will tell you what I do. Oh, but then you have to be doing Latin, Lena. You have a degree. Dang, girl, you need to move to Raleigh. Come teach a Latin class for my house. What I did, you'll notice that the odd number pages are all completed. What I do with my kids to save money and time and sanity, I had my daughter who's now in 5th grade. When she was in 3rd grade, she did all the odd number pages. And so now when my son's coming up behind her, he's doing all the even number pages, because there was no way, this is so repetitive, that I was having someone do every even and odd number page. That was just silly. So that's how we did it. So you can see some done back in day 102. Yeah, this is the capitalization. This is the punctuation. Here are the parts of speech. They were writing contractions, circling nouns, and then combining these 3 sentences. And this is typically because if you're using the Easy Grammar or Simply Grammar system, it's typically because you've taught a specific way to combine sentences. I don't know what it is, but I can tell when it's supposed to be like comma in a series. No, don't start at book 1. Just get the grade that they're in. You need what, honey? Okay, ask Daddy, and then I'll be in. Okay, here it is. So I have the 7th grade one for my 7th grader. In fact, because I don't do these every day, and they're only doing the odd numbers, that's technically 90. I bet my kids only do more like 50 of these during the year. So you could actually buy like 3rd grade, 5th grade, 7th grade. David will probably still work through this one next year. I'll skip to some lessons where it looks like it's more where he is. I don't stress about it. To me, as long as we're reinforcing that kind of stuff. I did have a schoolroom, but now my schoolroom is the dining room. So I'm actually sitting at the table where we do school. And we've turned the dining room into the schoolroom. And each of my kids this is David's because I'm going through 3rd grade. And he keeps it on that bookcase there. I found that when I had, all the kids wanted to be out in the main space anyway. We all did. So we're just out in the main space, and that works. No problem. Definitely run. You can catch the replay if you need something else. I would also say for elementary school grammar, we've loved this as a resource. First language lessons, you can see 2 bookmarks, one for my 6-year-old and one for my 9-year-old. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a chalkboard table. I think I've done a scope on it before. So this just has great definitions. These are the definitions we memorize. So this is fantastic for just getting that memory work down. There's poetry in here you can memorize and stuff. We tend to skip that these days, though my girls did it when they were younger. I'm just not as good about it anymore. Okay. The last 2 subjects that I was going to go over are science and history. But I will tell you real quick since it came up. Yeah. Dining room table. This is painted with chalkboard paint, so you can actually write on this with chalk. And this is painted with Annie Sloan chalk paint, which is just a type of paint. It has nothing to do with writing with chalk. This is a color called Florence. And I found this old table, and you can even table on Craigslist and redid it using this. And you can. Yeah, I don't think I've never put food directly on the table, but we have our plates, and when we host dinners, this is the table that we use to host dinners. So I love it, and I love that Florence color. It's awesome. All right, so to finish off, language arts. What else would I say? In terms of, in all my free time, in terms of reading, the literature book, the Arrow title for the month is the one I read out loud. We have some morning basket time. It's actually afternoon basket, and we do all that reading, which is typically fun books that I'm reading my kids. And then my son, he is a reader. I haven't had to worry too much about assigning him books. I just have to keep the library basket full. That's pretty much my challenge with him, is finding titles and keeping them here, and he will pick them up. So right now he's gotten into this series, I Survived. And it's a historical fiction. So it's I Survived the Sinking of the Titanic. I Survived the Battle of Gettysburg. I think just arrived at the library. I Survived the Bombing of Pearl Harbor. Fairly easy reads. My 5th grade daughter's enjoying them too, because she can just read one in an hour, but with some good information. So yeah, these have been good ones, fun ones to get into. And also like the Who Was series. Right now he's reading What Was the Gold Rush? And there's like Who Was Nelson Mandela? And Who Was Anne Frank? That's a great series too. So he's reading those. So for him, there isn't a whole lot of assigned reading because he just is a natural reader. Most of my kids enjoy just reading at bedtime. Yeah, the Who Was series is awesome. Okay, let's make sure I went over everything there. Grammar, language arts. So anything else about language arts that I didn't answer? I'm going to move to science and history. Oh, cursive. I haven't started cursive in 3rd grade. And I think because he hasn't really shown interest in it. Hi, Kamiko. So I probably will do it in 4th with him. My girls have both done cursive. Typically, we spent like the end of 3rd and then 4th or 5th grade. Right, I never did all about reading, but I kind of stopped phonics and Explode the Code once they started reading. Explode the Code, I continued for spelling. What was I talking about? Oh, cursive. Yeah, if your kid loves it, go for it. I don't know. You know, some people do cursive first. There's like a whole theory in teaching cursive first. So I'm not sure there's an age that it's too early. Yeah, there you go. Shelly did it at 4. So if your kids love it, I just go for it. In fact, I'm glad you guys are bringing it up because I think I've typically done it at the end of 3rd grade and I probably need to get him a book to do it. So yeah, I wouldn't not do cursive if a kid was interested in it. Absolutely. And all my kids will do cursive. I know that's a big like debate sometimes that schools aren't teaching cursive or, but we'll all do cursive. Yeah, I don't know that my 3rd grader is really ready for it. So we may dabble into it and see how he responds. And if he doesn't, then we'll just put it aside till 4th grade. And languages, I was going to mention, I've done Song School Latin. Fantastic. It was just, no one in our house loved it. Languages, no one seemed drawn to them. So it was like something putting on the to-do list that no one was really enjoying. Then we tried Latin with children and we listened to the chant DVDs and the, I think it was Song School Latin. Lena might be able to tell us if that was the name of it. It was so much fun. I have nothing bad to say about it, except it didn't draw us in because as a family, I guess languages just isn't anyone's thing. I just had the CDs for Song School Latin. Latin with children, yeah, the DVDs were But we listened to the chant and we made it about 17 weeks into Latin with children. And again, just no one was enjoying it. So we will do languages because they are required to graduate high school, but we will do them later, just more as a requirement. So, okay. Science this year, we have done Apologia Exploring Creation. This is really in-depth for 3rd grade. I have scoped before and blogged about how I try to change it up. I try, if I can, to read the chapters ahead of time and just make up like a note sheet. You can buy notebooks that we were using the first 4 chapters and then we kind of petered out of that. So I try to make up like some sort of note sheet for them and we just read it and discuss it through narration. Then we get together with friends every 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. The notebooks have some ideas in them, so it's worth buying one notebook, but I wish I hadn't bought a notebook for every kid because I would have just photocopied the pages that I was using and I would have pulled the ideas out of them. So yeah, we kind of summarize it. We do some of the activities and we get together actually with Tar Heel Mom and we do the fun stuff and we try to just bring whatever part of the nervous system or that kind of stuff, we try to bring it to life in our get together so that it's a little more memorable for the kids. So right now we are on chapter, I think 11. You are welcome, Kara. It's so nice to have you here. No problem. I understand it's a Saturday afternoon, lots to do. So that's what we do for science, try to get together with friends and make it fun. And then for history, we do Story of the World as our main spine. This is not the book, this is the activity guide. There's a book you can read. It got a little complex in Story of the World 3 because the world is getting bigger. So it is kind of hard because I feel like we're jumping all around the world constantly, but that's because it's a chronological sequence. So they're trying to help you understand what's going on in Asia while it's going on in America, while it's going on in Africa, Europe, and they're kind of placing you everywhere. So I haven't been really good about like timelining that or trying to get that out visually for my kids. That would be really helpful if I did that. But we do like it. Okay, yeah, a timeline I think is really helpful. And maybe that'll be my summer project, to get a timeline going so that we can, when we continue with Story of the World 4, we can place these events in history. I did decide specifically for my 3rd and 1st grader, they had not done American history. So when we got to all the colonial stuff, I was inspired, and we did the Homeschool in the Woods Colonial Life Packet. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, I own a book of centuries, so we should do that. That would be helpful. I actually own the Sunlight one. But this was from Homeschool in the Woods, and I just really wanted my younger two to be able to dive into the colonial time period more than Story of the World did. So we visited Yorktown and Jamestown, and we did this colonial life thing, and we just kind of tried to focus on the U.S. history, but we continued with the rest of the world too. So, and that we get together with friends once a month and do all the crafty stuff. This book is full of ideas of crafts. And we were doing the maps in here because they're, because they are good and they cover geography. But now we've started approaching a different continent each month, though March fell apart. But we will get back to it in April. And that's been helping the kids too kind of place things in the world and focus on getting some books from the continent. So we kind of change things up and go with the flow. And what I'm showing you guys is like the core of what we do. Honey, he's upstairs in the shower. Okay, I think that was it. Okay, I'm going to answer a question that someone asked me on my blog, because I talk about how I do science with friends and history with friends, and I also run 2 book clubs. One for the Arrow book titles and one for my older daughter, the Boomerang book titles. And somebody was like, how do you schedule all this? So I wanted to show you how that worked for me. This is a month. This is kind of how I planned it. These are the 5 days of a week. And what I decided is I would designate Thursdays as our group ideas. So the first Thursday of the month, Tar Heel Mom and I, and it doesn't always end up in the first Thursday. We've had to be flexible. Thanks, Allison. But on that first Thursday of the month, we get together to do art and science Thursday afternoon. The second Thursday of the month is when I aim to have my history group get together, because it's different moms. There's 6 families in the history group, though Tar Heel Mom is in that one also. On the third Thursday, we try to do our art and science. Just that's only Tar Heel Mom and I. And we get together that Thursday afternoon. And then the last one is my Arrow book club. And that happens Thursday afternoons on the 4th Thursday of the month, because that is a whole different group of people, though Tar Heel Mom is in all of these. So that way, people who are only in the book club, you know, I just see them on the 4th Thursday. People who are in the history, I see in the 2nd Thursday. And Tar Heel Mom and I actually see, our kids see each other on all of these. And then my Boomerang book club actually happens on the last Friday night of the month. I try to keep these on the same weekend if I can, because then it's like, that's book club weekend, the last weekend of the month. I don't lead all of the ones for the Arrow book club, that rotates, but I do lead all of these Friday night ones. So it's good for me to kind of have it mapped out. Oh, I love the book clubs. Love the book clubs. I think I'm going to do one for my son next year too. I'm already talking to 2 moms, so now I'll have 3 book clubs going on. But, you know, for me, that is what makes this all fun and enchanting. That's not true for everyone. Like I said, the Latin did nothing for us in our house. It's not that Latin's bad. There was nothing wrong with the curriculums. It's just that was not where we were finding enchantment and joy and fun. And that wasn't something that I was really geared up to Thursday night plan and find fun ways to do it. But I do find that I love doing that with literature, and I love doing that with history and with science. So yeah, Lena, you shared that I think on your blog, that you were loving designing your kids' math lessons. I mean, I think that's awesome. So you have to find what really inspires you and let it overflow to your kids. I think there are advantages to a co-ed book club. Gosh, I'm going to make some generalizations here. The all-girls book club has been fantastic with the older girls, because Girls are chatty and social, and they love it that way. But I'm not sure what the atmosphere of all boys in middle school or high school would be to try to do a book club. I really have no idea. I feel like for the boys, having the girls there would maybe help with the discussion. I don't know. I'm kind of generalizing, but I'm trying to picture a bunch of boys sitting around trying to talk about a book. It's just not what I picture in my head. I have a feeling our book clubs are going to involve a lot of hands-on game activities and fighting. So I'll let y'all know how it goes. It may be by the time they hit like 6th grade, we invite some girls into the book club too. I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. I think that's interesting. Reading instruction. I don't do reading instruction at this point with this particular 3rd grader. He learned to read pretty early, pretty easily. I just make sure to keep in the house a lot of books that he can read, that he can choose from, and I read a lot out loud to him. So that's kind of his reading instruction. And I'll occasionally grab my kids and be like, hey, what's been interesting in that book that you read? You know, what chapter really was interesting to you? Or tell me about the series because I haven't read it yet. And what do you think I would enjoy? And just try to engage their reading, make sure they're comprehending it. But in terms of reading instruction, I used to do those like comprehension workbooks you can grab where kids had to read like a paragraph and then answer the questions. And I don't buy into that theory anymore. I've noticed that my kids do fine without having to do that. But if you have a kid that really loves workbooks, you know, they might really love doing those. So that would be fine. And spelling I did talk about, and it's on the blog that you can find. But spelling, we do all about spelling, but we do a very modified version of it. So I think that was everything for 3rd grade. Oh, Allison, I'm so glad. I think that's what we need to do with one another is just kind of encourage one another and support one another. I love doing these scripts too because I get to hear some ideas from you guys and find things to look up and just know that all of our houses are looking and feeling the same way at this time of year as we're kind of thinking about it. So yeah, Lena, I've loved reading your blog and feeling normal and your vision of sharing what is bringing your family joy, even if it's different than what is inspiring me. I just love knowing that other people are following their own instinct to bring to their kids what is motivating to them and knowing that learning is happening in that, you know. So for me, it's the book clubs and getting together. I'm an extrovert. I'm an off the chart when you take those Myers-Briggs tests. I think I was a 95 when I got married, and I took it recently, and I was a 90. And yeah, everything is not enchanted. This is not very enchanting. Really can't make it such. So we just have to get it done. And honestly, we have lost some enchantment this year with Story of the World. And I really need to, that's why we took a break and did Homeschool in the Woods. So I need to find a way to maybe do a timeline, do something that draws us back into the time period. Again, I have to really think about that some. But like Julie said, sometimes enchantment just, it's not something you can plan for. And I would say that our best history month was actually with the Arrow Guide. We read Courage Has No Color this year. And Courage Has No Color is the true story of the first Black paratrooper soldiers. And we enjoyed that book so much that we dove into the idea of segregation and discrimination. And we learned so much. We watched Remember the Titans, and we watched, the really funny one, The Help. And we visited the museum, and we learned so much history from that literature book. So, you know, I feel like learning is happening, even when it's not necessarily through my planned curriculum. But now we're back to the place where we're trudging ahead through the planned curriculum, and we'll see where it leads us. So that is everything, guys. I'm not going to keep you. Thank you so much for joining in and just contributing to this and inspiring me as well. And yeah, I'm big into, I think I was showing in my 6-year-old scope, I'm big into just getting lots of picture books. So I agree with you guys, just reading fun things from the time period. The hard thing is when you're doing something cool in science and you're doing something cool in history and you just have some great literature series. I mean, there's so many good books. We could just read all day. And I think it was Andrew Pudewa, who wrote IEW. I think he said, I listened to one of his podcasts that said the best elementary education, you just read to your kids for 5 hours a day for kindergarten through 5th grade. If anyone could actually do that, but that would be an amazing elementary education. Just reading as much as possible to your kids. So I have to agree that reading is where it's at. Fangirl shirts. That's so funny. I'm such a fangirl. I got a oh, I'll show you all. I like secret fangirl shirts. This is my new fangirl shirt. Anyone know? I just got this sweatshirt. The kids are yelling, I do. Anyone know why I have my sweatshirt? Is there any other fan out there?
I do.
You do? You saw it online. Yeah, Shelly. What's it from, Dan? You gonna tell him?
Go Flash.
Yes, it is from a TV show, The Flash. So I don't know, maybe one day I'll design a Not Before 7 shirt, but it feels very funny to wear my own blog shirt. But I will be buying, Julie said she's going to have some Brave Writer shirts, and I will be all over the Fangirl Brave Writer shirt. Yeah, my kids can wear it. That's funny. Maybe I'll have like a little clock on it or something like that. Not before 7. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. This was lovely. And speaking of the Flash, we're going to eat lunch and we are going to purchase the next episode from season 2. Thank you, Vicky. I know. One day, maybe. You never know, girl. You never know where it's going to go. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. And I will see you. Oh, let's see. We will focus on this to end. Chocolate hearts.